What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Gold Rush Weekly Watchlist. Thank you for being here with me on your Sunday evening. Um, Anyone who's watching the rerun, I hope you have a good week, etc., etc. So I'm just gonna jump right into it. This one's gonna be a short one. The reason why I'm not interested in drawing this one out too much is only because there's a lot of earnings. We're in earnings season, and a lot of the big names are reporting this week. I don't like to try to predict what's going to happen with earnings because there's no way of knowing. There's no way of accurately predicting what the direction things are going to go in. So because of that, I'm not going to get into a lot of depth the way that I normally do. I'm just going to skim through and especially since we have earnings this week. I myself in my personal trading will be focused on QQQ, SPX, and SPY. Everything else I think is going to be, it's really going to be hit or miss, and I don't really want to waste mental resources elsewhere because you never know. You don't know what's going to happen with earnings, right? So real quick before we get started, I'm just looking at the economic calendar. We have no Fed speakers this week. Tuesday, there's pretty much nothing going on Monday. Tuesday, we have new home sales. Wednesday, we have durable goods. Thursday, we have GDP, initial jobless claims, and pending home sales. Friday, we have PCE, year over year, and core PCE. So those are going to be some interesting events. Friday's PCE looks like it's 2.6 median forecast. The previous was 2.5, so that rose. So I think Friday's going to be a nice, interesting day for volatility. Besides all the other volatility that we're going to have in the market based on all of the earnings that we have this week. And then just looking through the list of names that are reporting earnings this week. We have Tesla this week. We have Meta, Microsoft, Google, Intel. We have Exxon, IBM, Ford, Boeing, Verizon, Chipotle, Snap, UPS, AT&T, Cleveland Cliffs, Roku, Pepsi, Lockheed Martin, FCX, RCL. Who else? American Airlines, Altria, CAT, Chevron, JetBlue, T-Mobile. What was this? LUV. Next Era Energy. So there's a lot of names, a lot of big names reporting earnings this week. And so again, I'm not interested in getting into making predictions. Basically we're gambling if we try to follow predictions on what's going on this week with earnings. And I myself will be focused on SPY, SPX, and QQQ. Everything else will pretty much be a day trade or a scalp for the most part, just because earnings week, big volatility. You really don't, it's hit or miss. You're guessing. Is it going to go up or down? Is really all you can guess. So you're 50-50 at the end of the day. No one is privy to any information that's going to help them to try to know which direction things are going to go in, right? At the end of the day. So I'm going to get into the indices, and then we'll go in and pick, if you're looking at the earnings whispers chart, we'll just pick one from each earnings session. So, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 columns. I'll pick one or two from each one real quick just to quickly discuss. If we've discussed them in the past, then you'll be very familiar with the analysis. And if we've never discussed them before, then we'll discuss them now together. Let me get rid of some of these moving averages. So before I get rid of this moving average this is SPX. Before I get rid of the moving average, this one here is the 100-day moving average at 49.1395. And then the 200 we have down here at 46.58, right? So I just want you to take note of that. 49.16 and 46, looks like 46.62 rather is where the 200 is. So, if you follow me online, or if you notice, like sometimes I'll go into some like very small rants in the after hours or right after the market close or whatever. And I'll talk about how I'm feeling overwhelmingly bearish due to how strong the market has been, right? I mean, look at this. Ever since we got this pullback, November, which was, by the way, November, which was the previous high, was back in the end of November ish, and now we got our pivot here to start this brand new run. We've been absolutely ripping ever since. I think we did break out above this previous high here, and we may have retested it on that week, but I think that's essentially where we're going to go back to. Because this area here was where trend changed. The trend was up for a very, very long time, almost 2 years, until it got to this point, right? And then the trend shifted and it changed to downtrend. And then after a while, we broke out and made higher lows and higher highs around here, and then it kind of shifted into a new uptrend. So we haven't had a chance necessarily to come back to this level to like negotiate it. Yeah, we slowed down on it at this level, but it absolutely continued to rip. So I think that we ultimately work our way back down to this level naturally, right? Without any sort of external catalyst, without war, without disease, without bank failure, without XYZ. I think that just based on price action, I think we come back to retest some of these levels at 4,700 and change. So that's what I'm looking at for SPX. I've been bearish for ever since we put in pretty much. Actually, I've been bearish since this candle here. This is a candle that kind of slowed the trend down completely. We continue to push, and now we're pulling back really, really hard. So I think that we're going to continue to pull to the downside, and that's what I'll be looking for SPX and for QQQ and all the other indices for the next couple of weeks. Next one is QQQ. QQQ, good consolidation on the weekly, strong rip to the downside. It looks like we are, obviously break below the low of the week. Looks like we can retest this level here where there were previous buyers. I'm probably more interested in at that level at 402.90, because if you look across the chart at that level, you see that that's where previous resistance was, all the way to the left. So we're looking to target that area potentially as potential support. Right, we did come back and kind of pull back to it around this time, but I don't think it's enough. I don't think there's enough. Right? I think we have to have that extra confluence, that extra pullback to that area. So I'll be targeting 402 and change for the week, maybe the next couple of weeks, just because I see a continuation. Right, we had this nice consolidation, double top, strong rip to the downside, break all resistance here. This is actually a very, very bearish week. It took out all of this price action and went back to essentially the price of January. So very, very bearish week for QQQ. Next one is, let's see. Next one is IWM. So IWM, I had some previous targets here. The lows of these weeks, it ripped through both of them. It looks like it's holding, price looks like it wants to hold up above the low of the week of February 12th. It looks like it wants to try to hold that level, but if for whatever reason it cannot hold that level, and again, that's, there's a lot of names that are included in IWM that are all reporting earnings this week. If for whatever reason it can't hold this level here, we're going into 187.53. I'm sure of it within the next couple of days. And then underneath that, we got 100. I would call it 185. I'll just bring that up to 185 for IWM. Right? There's not going to be one index that goes up while the rest of them go down. That's not how this is going to work, right? And it's interesting because usually energy is typically the one that will show strength, but it hasn't necessarily been showing strength these past couple of weeks. We'll get to it in a second. Let's see. IWM, SPX. Okay, energy. So, so usually there's an inverse relationship between energy and the rest of the market. Energy looks stronger than the rest of the market. I don't know if this is a pullback based on a market-wide pullback, or if this is like a technical, all right, triple tap, breakout to the upside, pullback, retests previous resistance as current support, work its way up. I don't know if that's what's happening here. I cannot tell you, right? I don't know. I think that a good support level would be, as you can see by this fib, a good support level would be 92.64. So I'll be watching for price action around 92.64 to see how buyers react to that level. 92.64, which if you look across the screen, it's where pretty much all previous resistance is, right? That the kind of the foundation of that previous resistance, here around this area, this candlestick here, and then around this area. So I kind of want to see what what buyers and sellers, how they interact at this level here, 92.64, which will determine, I think, where XLE goes. But XLE it's like one of those tickers that you know how you like Bitcoin might rip over the weekend, so you buy Mara or you buy Coin or you buy Riot. It's like that. It's like, let me get some energy just in case it pops off in the Middle East this week. Like, let me just hold some energy calls, and you might be rewarded, right? That's the situation that we're in with XLE. So if you're interested in making that play, then I would consider keeping, either XLE or some of the names within XLE, such as Exxon, such as Chevron, such as CVE. I forget the name of the company. Next Era, NEE, right? Some of these energy names that may pay you off nicely if things go south in the Middle East. So just keep that in mind. Next one is XLF. So XLF, it made an all new high. I think JP Morgan was the one that was kind of running this play. JP Morgan was like the main one that made XLF make this move. I just want to take a quick look at Goldman. Goldman had a little bit of a breakout, which contributed to it. But you look at Goldman. Goldman hasn't even taken out his high, right? Goldman hasn't taken out his high. Look at JP Morgan.
Wait.
Hello?
Hi, sorry for interrupting. You can't see your screen if you're sharing.
Oh, wow. Okay, hold on. I thought I was sharing my screen a long time ago. My bad. This is the second time I've done this. All right. Thank you for pointing that out. Share my screen. Okay, so you guys see my screen. So, good. All right, so let me go back. Let's go back. All right, so we go back to energy real quick. So if you look at energy, we got the triple tap, right? The triple tap at this level here. And then we got a pullback, potential pullback to this 92.64 area. That's the area I'm going to be watching. Energy, I think, is going to be that hedge, 92.64. You can see why it's crucial. It's a 61.8% fib level. And plus you have previous resistance can turn to current support. So very important to keep that in mind. Next one's financials. So if you look at financials, strong rip, all new all-time highs on financials. Look at JP Morgan. All new all-time highs, right? Broke through all this previous level here. All new all-time highs. Let's look at Goldman Sachs. Now, Goldman Sachs didn't break out and make new highs. It did give you that strong move to contribute to it, though, but we still have some highs over here. So, if XLF and JP Morgan have a chance to continue, there's going to be a strong, very, very strong breakout on Goldman Sachs. Actually, I think Goldman Sachs can probably get to like 450 very, very quickly if it does give us the breakout. JP Morgan, if it reverses and undoes some of this candlestick here, this is a very dangerous candle. If JP Morgan undoes some of that candlestick, then I think that, everything will go back and make all new highs in terms of the financial industry. So I'll be watching that. XLF is, there's a weird relationship right now with XLF because XLF, the banks make money when you borrow from them or when you borrow, whether you borrow from them at a high interest rate or at a low interest rate. High interest rate, they're making more money off of you. Low interest rate, they're making less money off of you, but there's more of you to go around for them. So very interesting for them. If Jay Powell says, you know what, we're not ready to cut rates yet, that might send the market down. I think XLF might rip down really hard on that news, but it will rebound, I think, very quickly because, I think that'll be more of an overreaction than anything else. So I'm interested in XLF as it pertains to, Jerome Powell and the rate cuts and the rate hikes, whatever direction they're going in. I don't think we've made any cuts this year. We're already in April. I think they're announcing, someone said they're stalling into September is when they're probably going to rise, lower the rates. And that lines up with like election season. So, which is way too much of a coincidence, but here we are. What we got next? Let me go through the other ones real quick because I wasn't sharing my screen. So SPX, I'm looking for it to come back and retest the 4,800, 4,700 area, this area here. Previous resistance, resistance for 4 weeks in a row, ripped down, 5, 6, 7 weeks. And then it kind of broke above and then flushed and then changed trend, right? So this is a very key area. We did kind of go sideways in it for 1 week or 2 weeks, but, I don't think that there's enough price action in these 2 weeks to really validate what happened. This was like 2 months worth of price action here. So I want to see a retest that level. So I'm going to be bearish until we get to that level, maybe even beyond that level. QQQ, Good consolidation at all-time high, rip down, strong candle to undo all of the price back into January's price action. Underneath $413, we can get back into 402.90. I'm being very generous with this 402.90. If you look across at the crosshair, you can see that we hit a double top at this level in the past. Same thing, 2 months worth of consolidation, then rip down, change of trend. So I think that this area is very, very crucial to test. And realistically, with QQQ, if I'm being real honest with you, I think we can go lower. I think that with QQQ, we can probably come back to this level here at 384. And to be real, if I'm going to get like real scary hours, I think we can come back to retest some of these levels down here at 350, 358-ish, right? 357.60, but I will go a little bit just slightly higher. But let's just call it 357.60 for now for QQQ. Next one, IWM. IWM, I think, the first level that I'll be targeting, I mean, if we can't hold above this level here at 193.06 with earnings this week, we're going to flush hard into 187.53. And then from there, 185 is like instant. Underneath 185, now that I'm looking at it, I think we can go back to this. Looks like a little bit of a demand zone down here at 178.52 will be the next level that I would target. And then what's the next one? That's SPX. Here's energy, which we discussed. Financials, we discussed. All right, now let's get into, I'm just going to go quickly through some of the names that are reporting this week because I don't, again, I don't want to say, hey, this looks like it's going to go up, so let's spend $200 for a contract, and then it goes in the exact opposite direction. I'm no good at running earnings plays, and I think that they're gambling for the most part, and I don't really condone it. I don't like gambling unless you're way well profitable. Let's say you made $1,000 for the week and you want to gamble 200 on some earnings. Go ahead, go for it because you're still up. But it could be somebody who that's going to be their first play and they're going to get smoked on it. So it is what it is. I think that this is going to be a strong level to break, 42.59 for Verizon on the weekly. Right now, we're holding a kind of a key level because we have a little bit of resistance down here, a little support over here, resistance here, support here. So I think it's a very interesting spot for Verizon. Let's look at the daily on it real quick. Yeah, I mean, it rips up, goes sideways, comes back down into this channel, up, down, basing nicely. I think that if we can rip above the high of day, which looks like it's very easy, not too complicated, we have this next area at 41.18 to break through, then we have a little bit of a gap. So Verizon, excuse me, they report tomorrow morning, so before market opens. So we won't have much of an opportunity to gamble. We'll just be able to, if it goes, then we'll take it. If not, then I think if it wants to go and break below this channel, I would think that underneath 39.14, it probably wants to target 38.46. Underneath that, I can target this area where there's a lot of price. Actually, I'm gonna bring it all the way back to over here because that's where its price is at 37.57. These premiums are pretty cheap. The stock price itself is pretty cheap, so it might be a nice way to start off our Monday morning. If you're interested in trading on equities, I'm gonna be trading on SPX, SPY, QQQ this week for the most part because I can't handle the volatility of like Apple, Google, Meta, Tesla, none of that. I don't want to deal with it. Let's see. So that's Monday morning. Monday after close, we got Cleveland Cliffs. On the weekly, just so that we can establish what the trend is. Cleveland Cliffs has been much higher. It now looks like it's a much different company. We have an established range on Cleveland Cliffs. We have a low and we have a high, and we're well between the two. It looks like there's a potential. Where is it? Here it is. There it is. Actually, I'll take this one. It looks like there's a potential kind of a cup and handle or something going on here. Right, a little bit of a cup and handle. I want to see, and again, there's earnings. I think Cleveland Cliffs was one of those companies that was poised to grow for Biden's Build Back Better project that that we never heard about after it was announced, right? I mean, I don't know if some smaller localities, cities, whatever, may have put it into effect, but I haven't heard nothing about it here in New York. So, and I haven't really read news about it. I've been following X and CLF pretty closely. Haven't seen much about it. So, maybe there is something that's in the works. They're talking about, is there a surprise coming for Cleveland Cliffs this earnings season, right? So, I don't know, but on a technical, we got some pivot levels here, and this is the weekly chart. So, these are levels that may take time to get to, right? You got a little bit of a rising support level there, right? Every time it comes back to this level, it keeps bouncing. So let me just stretch that out a little bit so it could be clearer. Right, every time it comes down to this line, it keeps bouncing. So if it does break down, it has a nice little hard breakdown below this level at 2052. We can go to 1922. Nice dollar move, dollar and change. Otherwise, if it maintains the trend, it might come back up to this 2290. Pivot machine guns work in both directions. I mean, look at it right here, right? We got the lower highs on each of these weeks, and then we had a nice strong move to the upside in these 2 weeks to kind of do a pivot machine gun and take out these highs. So the same thing can happen. I mean, technically you need like 2 or 3 more candles, but if there's a strong move, there's a strong move, and it can rip through some of these levels here. So if it doesn't break down, we got 2290 on the 2290 potentially on the way, and then we got $24 of that for CLF. Let's see who else is reporting on Monday. AG. I mean, as you can see, nah. We traded this in the past, but this is sitting at $10 now. I don't want to spend too much. I don't like to spend money on. I don't like it. So we're gonna skip it. Let's look at GM. There's a few of these names that I want to talk about on Tuesday before open. So Tuesday before open, we have General Motors, which General Motors, I can tell you, is a member of IWM just based on the way the chart looks, right? Pretty much identical to the IWM chart, right? Let's flip to it real quick. Right, same channel, up, down, up, down, up, down. Break up above the channel, make a new high, and then come back down and retest the channel, right? Same thing. Same exact chart, right? So I'm sure GM is like maybe 10% or whatever, 8% of IWM, but same exact setup. Now, General Motors, I think I heard something about companies, electric vehicles gaining in sales, massive sales of electric vehicles, but Tesla, and I think it was the other one was like Rivian or something, aren't gaining in market share. So, to me, it's natural that like Ford would be one of the companies that is starting to build more electric vehicles, right? That Lightning F-150 is really nice, right? General Motors, they have a bunch of EVs in their fleet. I think General Motors actually has that same kind of skateboard chassis where you could just slap any kind of body on top of it, of their bodies. They're all basically using the same chassis, which I think brings their production, makes their production much cheaper and more efficient. While the technology still is very expensive, it's cheaper in the essence that it's not like they're building a brand new chassis for each one. It's cheap. Batteries, it's shaped like a skateboard, and you throw the top of the car on the bottom like if it was a Lego piece, right? And then, and they were talking about, having like 30 something cars out by 2025 or something like that, or maybe it was 2030 something, 2032 or something like that. Maybe that's what it was. I think it was like 10 years, 30 cars is their plan. But, they're moving fast. I've seen a few of their cars on the road already. So if we can hold this level here, 39.75, right? Yeah, 39.75, 40. Let's call it 40. If we go hold the $40 mark, then I think that we can work our way back up, right? I think that we can pull back to this $40 mark, and then from there, work our way back up. Now, again, I don't know what's going to happen with earnings. They have earnings Tuesday. I don't know what's going to happen, but if for whatever reason you get one of those volatile candles, it needs to stay above $40 in order for it to make it into $50, and $50 can come quick for GM. And I think that based on the increased value of EVs or increase of EVs in the market that aren't Tesla, it's either GM or Ford. It's either GM or Ford at the end of the day. So very interested in that. Let's look at UPS. UPS looks like an H, a real nasty H on a weekly time frame. We do have this rising support line, right? Rising support line, which for those of you who are artists, you can see that there is a cup and handle here. There's your cup. There's your handle, right? Which these things usually break to the downside. It can also be kind of like a, kind of a wedge vibe going on right there. And then we also have, kind of a double top going on over here, supply and demand. There's a lot of different ways that this can make sense. But if we do break down, and again, we don't know what's going to happen based on earnings. But if we do break down underneath 142.77, we could go as low as 133.68, and I think even lower than that, I think we can target 130. Let me see the last time we were at. Yeah, and then we also got this fair value gap, which we've been slowly filling, but it goes all the way to down here at 118.64, way down here to 118.64. So what the fair value gap, for anyone that might be on the call or listening on YouTube that doesn't know what that is, basically, buyers and sellers need to be in agreement of all the price, which is why you see wicks and all this stuff, and you see slow movement up, slow movement down, right? Any fair value gaps that are created based on previous earnings or catalysts or news or whatever, one party takes control and it absolutely immediately moves in one direction. And then the fair value gaps usually are filled. You can see it came all the way back down to the bottom of this candlestick, filled, and then it slowly, this is one candle. These are 4 candles slowly working their way back up. So fair value gap here, price, buyers and sellers weren't able to agree on this price. So now they come down, buyers step back in, sellers take over again, buyers step back in. Couldn't bring it higher, sellers bring it back. They're trying to bring it lower. So this is an area where UPS is probably going to trade in for a while within this box. I think it looks like it. I mean, this looks just like SPX looked on the 3-minute chart on Friday, where it was just it was bouncing and it gave us a hard bounce, but then it came back down. Then it gave us another hard bounce, but it made a lower high. And then from here, if SPX broke down and just like ripped all the way down. Actually, SPX did really good price action because it would rip down and then retest the previous support as resistance, come back, make a new low, come back, retest it. Like it was just doing everything on Friday. It was really nice price action on Friday. So I think UPS goes lower. Point of that is I think UPS goes lower this week. Now, the interesting part, you always think about these things, in terms of technicals, but really the more important one is to think about, fundamentals. Look at that. U.S. parcel revenue sees first decline in 7 years, which is interesting because I see new Amazon packages in my apartment every day. But you think about these, like how often do you see UPS trucks? How often do you see FedEx trucks? Do you think about it in a more holistic way? Like, hey, do people have money to buy these things? Are people going back to the local shops? Are people going to the stores to buy stuff now? Are people going to dollar stores, for example? Are people going to Ross, for example? Are people going to, I was at Five Below spending mad bread at Five Below the other day. I was in Home Goods spending mad bread the other day on nothing. Like, Target's probably going to benefit more than UPS. If I could go buy it in Target, I'll take a few hours and go to Target if I'm going to save some dollars, right? And I'm just talking about like people overall, the economy. Like the economy's not, the stock market's all right, but like people aren't doing good right now. So you got to think about it like that. If people are doing good, then UPS shipments go up and the price of UPS then goes up, right? 1 quarter after usually. If people are not doing very good, right? Joblessness is very high. A lot of people that I know that are very well educated that can't get a regular job, but they're going to be underpaid on every job that they go for. These are like real life things that affect the stock market. So Anyway, I think UPS goes lower based on the information that I have in front of me. Let's see what else. Pepsi. Yeah, Pepsi reminds me of like the Roaring '20s, like those wartime stocks. You know, those industries that make you feel good even though everything's shit. Pepsi is probably gonna bounce. Gave us this nice little bounce here, good consolidation, nice little rip down, continuation, pull back to previous resistance, strong week, bullish engulfing week. 3 candlestick here, so rip down, took out the low, and then went and took out the high, working its way back up to this high here at $176.23. If we can take out that high, we're going back to that 181. Pepsi's cheap. Pepsi's cheap. Pepsi facing unfair labor practice charges from Teamsters in 3 states. Investors don't care. Pepsi, yeah, same thing. Investors don't care. Investors don't care. Think about Pepsi. You go to like 7-Eleven or something. You go and put your soda cup in a machine. That's Pepsi. Pepsi's supplying every flavor in that machine. They're not gonna stop. I work in a place where there's a lot of foot traffic and a lot of people going to spend money on things like Pepsi, for example. And there, I was sitting back watching. I was there today, and I was sitting back just watching them today. And people are consuming. People want consumption. People want entertainment, right? People want to forget about their problems, and Pepsi helps them do that. I know that it might sound like a reach, but like alcohol is never going to go down because even when people are depressed, they're going to need the alcohol. Cigarettes never going to go down. People are going to need their bogeys, right? What else? I think even beauty. Like even during the times of the Great Depression, women were still doing their makeup. They're like, "Yo, I gotta have something. I can't. The world is ending, but I gotta have something." So I think that some of these industries are bulletproof. Pepsi is one of those. They pay dividends, and they have a pretty stable, relatively stable stock price. They just recently hit this all-time high. The trend changed a little bit, and then we had this strong move to the downside. And now it looks like we're going to recapitulate some of that move. Now, this might go back and hit the top of this level here, $181, and then say, all right, let's continue the downtrend. It's fine. I think this week it goes higher. It looks, based on the strength of last week, I think there's just strength for it to continue to go higher. I may or may not be a shareholder. I don't care if you want to buy shares or not. It doesn't matter to me. I'm in for the dividends. I don't care if the price goes up or down. That's just, this is not financial advice. Who else? LMT, they're probably going to do really well. They're Lockheed Martin's wartime weapons technology. They're probably going to go higher. So I guess if there was any one gamble that you would want to take for earnings, this is probably going to be the safest one. Just because, how ironic, the safest one. But I think this is probably just, we've been at war. First of all, we've been at war for 30 years at this point. And then, we've been actively, Ukraine and Russia, and then everything that's going on in Gaza. And now Iran into the chat. These companies such as Lockheed and Northrop Grumman and Boeing they stand to benefit from those type of things. So, so if there's any gamble you want to take, I won't take it. But if there's any gamble that you want to take, this is probably one of the ones that's probably going to go higher. So I would look at the open interest on both sides, see which one's higher. I would look at the open interest, for example, on the call side, right? Let's say you're interested in the 470s or the 480s. Let's call it the 480s. You're interested in the 480s. Look at the 480s for this week. Look at the 480s for the following week. Look at the 500s for the following week. Look at the 500s for the following month. Look at the 515s for the following month. Look at the 515s for June and July, and see if there's a lot of interest. See how the volume changes on those. They don't have earnings until Tuesday, so we can spend all day Monday talking about it. But for the most part, if you're interested in it, look at the weeklies on call and put side. Look at next month call and put side. Next month will give you a big indication of where people think is going to go. look at the following month, and then look at each strike. The 450s, 470s, 475s, 480s, 490s, 500s, etc. That gives you a clue as to where things are going to go. And then also you could just look into the robot room and see if there's anything that pops up in there. You could just search for LMT or Boeing or whatever, Northrop, whatever their shit is. So yeah, I think it's going to go up. This is probably a good gamble. RTX is another one. Raytheon, another wartime company. Probably going to come back to test this level, $104.34. Potential 4-bar play loading on the weekly. Strong move to the upside. Good consolidation for 2 weeks. May potential rip continuation into 108 or so. That would be a new high for this. Yeah, that would be a new high for this. So, and I mean, the price action is good, right? Even if the industry is not, the price action is really good. Good sideways, down, bounce. Good consolidation back at this level, rip down, right back at this level. Like, this is strength. The fact that it made it down here and then all the way down here, but it's back is just strength. So I think there's a continuation move there. Potential 4-bar play on the weekly, which means it goes up all week long. And what better of a catalyst than earnings to send it even higher? So RTX, which also reports tomorrow. JetBlue. Yeah, I mean, perspective. If we're here and we're looking at it like this, this is gonna go up, right? This looks like it wants to go up. All it has to do is break out of this little box right here, right? Break out of that box, work its way above this level, which has been struggling for a while, and come back and target that level, right? $7, $8, whatever. But in the grand scheme of things, I mean, yeah, and then these are all very nice pivots and look very nice on a chart. Some of these levels looks like we want to revisit. But this thing just looks like, and again, how bad the airline industry is. How people don't really trust airline industry. The quality of air travel has just gone down overall, in my opinion. I hear nothing but horror stories from my friends who travel professionally, as well as my friends who just travel all the time because they don't have any kids. And then you hear stories of like, and obviously like Boeing, they're Boeing planes, but there's people fighting on planes and there's like people arguing on planes and it's just scary to be on planes. Sometimes the TVs don't work. They don't really serve food on flights unless you're going over like 5 hours or something like that. The quality of the experience has just gone down. And, and I think that's a big reason why this is going all the way. Prices all the way at $7 when this thing used to trade at $30, right? Or whatever it was, $28, $26. So I don't know. The setup is real nice. Like, again, if we were to look at it like from here on, I would say, okay, it's going to consolidate. Maybe it'll rip above the weekly high and then work its way up to that $8.93. And then from there, it can do 1068. But like here we are talking about contracts on an $8 stock. Like, it just doesn't, not in love with it. But I do like this setup, and I'm going to be looking for the setup in other airlines, such as American Airlines, which have earnings. When is it? Sometime this week. It looks like Friday, maybe. Where are they? I'm just looking. You know what? I'm just going to do this. Let's see. Next AAL. I just want to know what day it is. 425. All right, so 425 is AAL. Let's look at AAL real quick. Let's just skip ahead to AAL. Yeah, so if JetBlue, so here's the thing. If JetBlue makes a nice strong move and works its way into this previous pivot, which it looks, take the price off, take everything, all the history off, take her off, and you just show me the price action, I'll be like, yo, it's going to rip. If that happens, then potential for AAL to do the same thing, right? Work its way back up, maybe come back to try to retest some of that, and then at some point maybe come back to try to retest some of that. Again, I don't know. I just don't trust it. I don't think that these airline companies are favorable in the eyes of the public. I think I saw something about like some flight disappearing and then like reappearing after like 30 minutes or something like that. Something crazy like that. I think there's going to be big news that makes the airline industry go to shit. Personally, so let's see. UAL did well. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, I guess when do they have earnings on Friday? Go to the data real quick. Yeah, they had earnings on Friday or on Tuesday. They had earnings on Tuesday, and then they've been very, very strongly ripping through all the pivots, right? We had this pivot here, we got this pivot here, and we got this pivot over here, and now we're above that level. Got some sellers, but see, like UAL's $50. Like it might be something that's a little bit more reasonable for us to trade. AAL's not bad. AAL's always been very cheap. It's always been around. It's never been like, it's always paid pretty well. So AAL can do well. If UAL can do well, AAL can do well. Especially like United was the one that was like dragging its passengers down the, old elderly passengers down the aisle and all that stuff. Like if they could do well, and I know investors are evil people, so they don't really care about that kind of stuff. But if they could do well, then I think AAL could bounce and go into that next pivot. So that's interesting. Let's see who else has earnings this week. Spotify. And I'm just jumping around all over the place, but I am following at least the earnings whispers. So Spotify, for some context, I think Spotify did their stock split. They used to be trading. It used to be like $1,600 or something like that, something wild, and now they got as low as $73, $72.84, and now it's undone a lot of this, pretty much all of this downside travel. Let's go back to the weekly, the daily. Spotify is just looks like a menace. So it came back to this level and it pretty much rejected, right? You see how it just came back. Bunch of sell pressure here. I'm sure it dates back to like this candle. But I bet you all this is supply, right? Because look at how much strength came into, a little bit of a pullback and then strong into this candlestick, into this area, inside bar, and then breakdown on Spotify. So now let's see what we can do with it in the near term. Now they beat their last couple of earnings. Pretty decent beats on both sides. This one, the revenue came down. The one thing that I think Spotify might do, which may benefit them, is I believe they're raising their prices. I believe that their service is raising its price. It was like, I don't know what they are. I think it's like $10 was what it was, and then it's going to $15, or $15 is going to $25, something like that. Like there's a very drastic price increase coming up. Not like drastic, like it's going to end your pockets or anything like that. But I pay for Spotify for my wife and I, and like whatever it is, it just comes out of my. Like, I don't even know what it is, but I know that they're raising prices, and the reason why I know that is because I heard people talking about it with the ticker symbol SPOT. Unfortunately, I don't really, fortunately, unfortunately, however you want to frame it, right? I don't really sit here and penny pinch on Spotify. Like I like Spotify. We use it every single day. It's a great service. It sounds great in my car. Sounds great in my headphones. Sounds great at my desk. So, I just don't know. The one thing I know is the price is going to go up. And when Netflix raised their prices, Netflix share price went up as well. So I think the same thing's going to happen for Spotify. They're going to talk about raising their prices. Officially, and what their plan is. Let's see. This is stupid. Taylor Swift teams up with TikTok for the Tortured Poets Department. That's not a great partnership because TikTok is about to get banned by the government unless Taylor Swift can save it. That would be very interesting if she does. And then on the technical tip, previous resistance here, triple tap breakout, coming back to retest that area, a little buying pressure, jumping in at the bottom of that. It might work its way up. So, we would really have to take out the high of day to then try to target. And then you got like a nice little pivot machine gun loading here. Um, if it gets sent, I think that price is going to just go sideways until earnings comes out, and then at that point it'll probably either go really really up to the upside, strong breakout, work its way into some of these levels, 320, 330, or break down and then find some support pretty quickly around 260 ish. Right, look at all this volume here. It's not going to really break through this volume so quickly. Every time it comes down, it's probably going to get swallowed up and bought up. So, the risk reward is better to the upside on this than to the downside. If you're interested, I wouldn't gamble with it. I'll probably just watch it and enjoy. Next one, Tuesday night, Tesla. I'm a Tesla bear right now, even though I own shares. I'm an absolute Tesla bear. The only reason I'm holding shares is because I'm down on them. I'm not gonna sell. I'm not gonna close my position. One way to offset that is just buy puts and play puts and do whatever, or sell calls, or however you want to do it. But like when I get back into these levels here, then I'll be like, all right, cool, let's get rid of it. But I'm just, it's so bad now that it's just like I'm just gonna hold on to it. Tesla at some point will go back up. I think this being an election year is strange for Tesla. They just released like 10% of their global workforce and then 30% of their workforce in a particular area. They're trying to do something in Texas that's supposed to I don't know what it's going to do. I think it's going to just lower their weight, lower the amount of money that they spend on production or on their employees or something like that. And on top of that, quote unquote, Tesla wants to pay Elon Musk it's his salary, which really means Elon Musk wants to pay himself a salary. So I think Tesla goes down. I've been bearish on Tesla for a while, and I think that is going to continue to move down. 134 is my first target, and then $100.81 would be the next target if we can break below 117.65 ish. So, where was it? 117.65, 118. Oh, here it is. 117 and change. I'll just put it here, right there. Those are your levels for Tesla. Let it go lower, lower and lower and lower. Next one's Visa. Visa's reporting this week on Tuesday afternoon. Visa, I think Visa beats. I mean, think about it. I've been using my credit card, so have you, right? So, maybe a little bit more than you should, right? Maybe a little bit more than usual. Maybe a little bit more than the past couple of years, right? So, I think Visa beats. I'm not going to get too crazy into it. I think that this is, and then you can do a Google search for the word credit and the word economy, and it'll give you a very strong bullish case for why Visa, and American Express, etc., probably are going to go, are doing really well these past couple of years. So, hold this level here. You see how it kind of ripped and then pulled back a little bit, found some support at previous resistance, right? Support on this week, resistance on this week, bounced, continued, and now it's pulling back. It might just come back to test this area and then work its way back up, or it might rip down. I mean, there's a pivot machine gun on it regardless of which direction you want to go in, right? You go to the upside, you got all these highs to take out, or if you want, it could work its way back down and take out all these lows. So very, very strong range. I think it's going to go up. I'll give you the downsides just so you have it, but I think it's going to go up personally, because everybody's using their credit cards. What do you want me to tell you? Let's see. Wednesday before open, we have Boeing. I just think that Boeing share price is so low because their planes are dog shit. I think if we break down below that level, we can probably very easily come back to the $150 mark. They're squandering their opportunity. They're a warmonger company. You should be making money right now. You should be ripping through all these highs and making new highs. It should be doing what it did here. But then you want to make some cheap planes made out of plastic and then tank your stock and quiet your, the people who want to save people. You look crazy right now. You're looking crazy. Like not even the evil investors can support you right now without looking crazy. So I think that Boeing works its way back down to 150. Um, I don't think that it's going to be an earnings thing. I think it might be like a forecasting thing for them. They might beat on their earnings, but they're not gonna know how things are gonna go for them in the future because now you got to make it right. You got whistleblowers who like are dying the day after they take a meeting with you. Like that looks crazy. That looks crazy, my man. Like what are you doing? So I would consider that. I would be very surprised if they go up. I think this is more going to be like a forecast / sentiment driven move to the downside. I don't think there's a way that they can uh, you know I don't see a way for them to go up this way. I just don't see it. I don't see it. So I'll give you another 2 levels to the downside. That's how much faith I have in it going to the downside for Boeing. The next one is, let's see. I just want to look at AT&T. I just want to see what it's at now. $16. Yeah. AT&T is like a popular dividend stock, but they keep raising their dividend yield, but the price keeps going down. So like, just go out of business already. Meta on Wednesday afternoon. Meta's chart is absolutely insane. One of my buddies he's actually in the community. He caught it down here. He caught it at the bottom. He bought like shares, a bunch of shares, and he sold it here. He made $100, like 150, 120% gain on this move right here, right? Because it was like $80 or something to like 180, just massive monster move, and then Meta goes ahead and just does this. So I think that Meta is very strong. The thing that they had that wasn't working to their benefit is they were spending a lot of money in the metaverse without yielding any results. They had some commercials that were like getting people hype, but now they don't have much. They don't have much. You could tell that they spend money. If anyone's on Instagram app, they have like a Meta AI that's integrated into the Instagram app, into the search function, I believe. And the Instagram algo is really, really strong, really powerful, pretty dialed in. I think their ad revenue, I think I read a report about them like losing like market share in terms of their ad revenue. I think that like YouTube has picked up a lot of ad revenue and Google has picked up a lot of their ad revenue market share. So, I don't know, but I see a double top here. I see like a breakout and then failure. I think tech overall just goes lower. I think 'tis the season for tech to pull back pretty hard. You saw that QQQ chart. There's no undoing that chart. There's not one earnings that's going to undo that chart unless it's Microsoft, which is can be a good or bad product depending on who you speak to. So I think Meta goes down. We have this little gap down here. I think that we're going to go work our way into this gap at some point. We've already traded within the gap. All of this has been traded within the gap, but I think that we have to come back into some of these levels at $430 or so for Meta. So I am bearish on Meta. I think it's gonna go down. Let's look at IBM. IBM has the same price action as Meta. Strong rip up, pull back, nice little attempt to break out, failed, and now it's working its way back into the gap. Right back into the gap. There's like a triple tap to the downside on this level right here. A little bit of a gap, not as aggressive as Meta's gap, but I think it's still there. Fair value gap, right? If we look at this on a 2-day, it's the same thing. Or let's do 3-day. Yeah, it's the same thing. Like price, like buyers and sellers didn't have an opportunity to negotiate during all this price here. So now sellers are going to bring it back down, make sure they got a good deal on it. That's pretty much what that means. So breakdown below 181.16. We got 178.75. Next target is 174.76. Underneath that, we got another gap, 166.84. They have earnings on the Wednesday. They've beat all their previous earnings for quite some time. But we'll see. I think this is a part of like the Nvidia move, right? When was this? This was January 24th. Let's just look at Nvidia real quick. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the charts are different, so I can't really say. This related to NVIDIA. Let's look at Ford. So I know that Ford is at a key level right now. Right there. Goes back even further. Goes back to over here. Back right there. So previous level of resistance. Let's go to the weekly. I'm like almost tempted to throw a volume shelf on this, but let's do it this way, a little easier. You can see how much price action there is inside this red box, right? And then if you look at even like the line where it closed, $12.14, resistance, support, resistance, support, all, like 2 months worth of support, breakdown, rip through, pull back, boom, boom. Again, big demand spike on this one level, kept it right above that level. Good consolidation here, support. Battle between resistance and support. So this is a key level, right? So it looks like, we found some resistance here, came back, broke up, found some support, rip up, come back, support once more. Before this earnings report, talking about it's either GM or Ford, right? It's one of the two. I know that Ford, that Lightning is a monster. That I love that car. Nobody has anything bad to say about that car, right? It's good for the environment. It's good looking. It has some good technology. It's a big car, which Americans love their big cars. And I don't like Fords, and I'm a car guy. I don't necessarily like Fords, but that's a piece of technology right there that could get behind. So, if they have good earnings reports, if enough of the trades people have adopted the Lightning as their new car, and that car is expensive too. It's like $130,000 or something with all the buttons on it. But people got money. People got PPP loans or whatever they did to get to get their money this year, or this past couple of years. But I've seen a few of them out, and I see them, and I see people talking about them, and people love those cars. It's sitting at a key area. Market share. Ford's like an American company, trusted American company, built Ford tough, et cetera, et cetera. I think that this may potentially go up just based off the sentiment. Let me see if I can find the last earnings real quick. Yeah, so they went down here. There was a recall or something that happened around that time. They undid all that price action. It took them, a month, right? From the time it went down to the time it got back up, about a month. About 6 weeks or so. And now we're on the other side of that price action, right? What I'm saying? We rejected and we're back here. And now we came and we rejected the highs, and now we're back here. Looking at it on the daily, it looks even better. We got a level where buyers and sellers have been trapped for about 4 days. Good green candlestick, break above this 1225. We can work our way into some of these levels here. That's it. I'm not gonna go crazy on it. Ford is probably cheap enough that you can gamble with earnings as well. You could buy some weeklies on it, or even next week, and you could gamble with it if you like. Chipotle, I think they have their stock split coming up on June 26th. They're probably going to talk about that. That's probably going to make the price go up. I would love for the price to come down, to like around here, 2,200-ish. That way we can get in at a nice price. But it's probably going to send it. I really don't have a gauge. I don't even think I have a line drawn on this chart. Yeah, I don't think I've ever drawn one line on this chart. So, but they do have that stock split. I think they're going to get a little bit more. Once that stock splits, we'll probably be trading it a lot more. It'll be a little bit more liquid. Chipotle is not easy to trade. So, let's look at LRCX reporting this week. LRCX had the same double kind of, same setup as SPY, where it kind of made a new high, pop, stop, pull back, consolidate, consolidate, and then rip down. Right, on the weekly. Oh, actually, sorry, same setup as QQQ. Strong consolidation, strong rip down. LRCX, don't know which way it's going to go. If it breaks down below this level, we can probably get to this level pretty quickly. And whatever it's going to do is going to do it in one candlestick. It's not going to give you a chance, right? So with LRCX, if you decide that you want to trade earnings, then it's like truly a gamble. You can go out far enough, and we'll watch the market maker number for it, but you can go out far enough on this where, you know, any big movement will make you some money. Like you could probably go for like the 1050s, which are 200 and let's see, 280 points out the money, or sorry, 180 points out the money. Or you can go for the 750s, which are 120 points out the money. So, or out of the away from the current stock price. So, you know, 100 points, 150 points in each direction. They might be cheap enough that you say, or you might have made enough profit trading SPX or something that you might say, you know what, let me just take a gamble on this. I think that I have a feeling that they're not going to beat. You know, they got some buys. I would look at like FinViz and stuff like that to see how the insiders have been treating it and like what kind of ratings they've been getting. But I just have a feeling, something in my gut's telling me it's not going to beat, and I think it has to do with the supply chain. There might be too much demand for what they can produce. But again, it's just a guess. There's no way of knowing. You know, let me go to the daily real quick. You know, they beat, I think, the past like a bunch of times. Yeah, the last time that they didn't beat was like way back here when there was a supply crunch. I remember with them, with TSM, and with somebody else. I don't know if it was AMD or somebody else. MU, I think it was. I had a supply crunch. They all talked about a supply crunch, and I have a feeling there's something going on with that, with the supply crunch around here now. So I would just be, you know, again, maybe we're just talking about it. Maybe we don't even take action on it, but this is one that I'll be interested in, at least to see what the result is. Vail. Haven't played this in quite some time. You know, it was like $40 the last time that we were talking about it. Or sorry, not $40. It was like $18, $19 the last time we were talking about it. But it's so cheap now that and it also just looks like it wants to break down. All right, tap, lower high, tap, lower high, tap, 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 lower high, tap, breakdown. Who else do they have earnings on? On Wednesday, we have ServiceNow. ServiceNow chart looks not bad. I mean, looking at the weekly, we got this consolidation here. Not too bad. If we can hold this area, then we can work our way back up. But again, I don't know. You know, this looks like QQQ on Wednesday before it completes the final move. So we might get some more downside on this. So ServiceNow might give us a nice little move to the downside between then and now. Let's look at Caterpillar. Cat. Now, you know, Cat, let's look at the monthly on Cat real quick. Oh, sorry, it's Costco. That's the one I was thinking about. It's not Cat. So with Cat, you know, again, there's no way of knowing which way things are going to go. On my fib, you know, break down below 786, we could work our way to 321, which is where these three candlesticks kind of went sideways. Caterpillar probably is going to not be, based on the fact that people are, you know, home builders. We're at a stage right now where home builders are probably ramping up building now, and those earnings aren't going to be reflected until the next period, which is probably next quarter. So I think they'll probably break down. Not interested in it. I don't think it's going to go up, especially since it like had an opportunity to go up and continue to go up. Inside bar and then breakdown bar, to me, doesn't feel good. Let's see, Microsoft, you know, I think Microsoft comes back to retest some of this area. Microsoft is probably the only one that can flip the market right now. Microsoft is like $2.9 trillion market cap. I think the highest right now. Everything was like, I think Nvidia was above 3, Microsoft was above 3, and Apple. I don't know if Apple's ever made it to three, but they're all underneath 3 trillion or billion or what. I don't even know what it is. Um, Microsoft is probably the only one that can save the market. So break down underneath, break down underneath there. Could probably target this underneath that. Could probably target 376. Whatever it's going to do is going to do in one candlestick. They have earnings on Thursday in the afternoon. Again, I'm trading SPX, SPY, QQQ this week because I just don't. You try to guess, and then you're holding, and then you're waiting, and then you're hoping. SPY, trade what's in front of you. You take a couple of 5-minute candlesticks, and that's your trade, and you call it a day. QQQ, right? Maybe you got a trend day, you call it a day. SPX, you take 1-2 candles, you call it a day. This week is probably a good week for scalping. So Microsoft looks good. If it wants to come back to this level here at 362, I doubt that it makes a new all-time high, especially in this market. Who else? Google. Google actually is showing much more strength than the rest of the market. I still have some of these upside targets for Google. Google to me seems like it's detaching itself a little bit from the rest of tech. They do have their AI projects, and they do have their ad space. They do have their technology hardware, phones, kiosks, things like that. But it just doesn't feel like it's, ever since that news came out a couple weeks back, it was setting the price down, and then it ripped while the rest of tech is going sideways or going down. Google's showing strength. So I think investors are interested in it. Google, let's see. Yeah, it broke down below the previous week's low, but then buyers brought it back up. The main majority of the price action is still above, within the range of the previous week's price action. So, not necessarily the cleanest inside bar, but the range is there, right? The range is there. So, what am I doing? I think that if we can maintain this range here, trade alongside this 155.25 through earnings, maybe we can continue to work our way up. I mean, the program for this is up right now. Earnings is going to be the oddball, right? Earnings is going to be the mystery. They need good guidance is what they're going to need. 1.51 earnings per share, $78 billion, $78.47 billion in revenue. A little bit lower than the previous revenue that they estimated. Back in line with kind of like what they had 6 months ago. Back in line with kind of what they had. Yeah. So even I think, this revenue was a strong increase. The estimate and the reported were strong increases above the previous earnings. This one came back down into the 70s. It's a little higher, 78, right, versus 76 and 74, right? So, does that tells us two things. They're in tune with their earnings, or their revenue rather. They're very in tune with it, and they know that they can beat it. So they're going to just put this number out and then trend and continue to trend upward. Or, right, so that's one way to see it. The other way to see it is, hey, we made $86.31 billion in revenue in this quarter, in this amount of time. But we don't see ourselves making it again. So let's lower our estimate. Right, which is why you see that big red candle on that week and a nice little 5-week slide, because they're saying we made this much, but we're not going to make the same amount in 3 months when we report earnings again. And then price bounce. So it's going to be very important on what they say in terms of their estimated revenue for the following, their guidance, essentially what they're guiding the next quarter, the next earnings in July. If it's stronger, if the number goes back into the 80 billions, then it's probably going to send it. If it stays in the 70s, it's probably going to fall. That's pretty much all I can. That's the only thing I could deduce from this. We don't know which way it's going to go, but Google does look very good compared to the rest of the market. QQQ, Amazon, Apple. Amazon looks good too. Amazon looks pretty good too. I mean, it did have a bad week this week. It ran right into this previous resistance at all-time high and then fell hard. I'm interested to see what Amazon's going to do this week. They have earnings the following week, so we'll talk about them next week. Who else? Let's get one more. Let's look at AbbVie. They report on Friday. AbbVie. Okay. Is this all-time high? Yeah, so it hit a fresh high, rejection, channeled a bit, made a new high, and then strong rejection, holding where the previous resistance was here. What did I see? I saw, you know what? It must have been one person that was talking about on my timeline that was talking about how there's like biotech has hit like a certain low and it's going to hold that low, and there's some new technology that are coming out here. Here they are, and it was a quick thread. And I remember like just like reading it and being like I should check this out. I think. Let me see. Yeah, I mean, like there was some health. Yeah, there was like some movement in that sector. I just don't know. Like, I don't know what seasonality is for this. I really don't know. I really don't know. Let me just take a look at their earnings. I know they have good dividends. 13.71 billion estimated. 14 billion estimated. They missed on earnings, and then we got 11 billion estimated. This feels like they're gonna fail. That number is getting smaller, unless it's like a seasonal thing, which I mean is AbbVie. So like, why would it be seasonal? Like, would it be seasonal for them? Like, do they get weak coming into the summertime? No, it feels like they will get stronger, right? People probably taking more products, or rather more pills or whatever, more juice. 279, 226. Yeah, they're like earnings going down, revenue going down. That's interesting. Is that a trend? Let's see. Yeah, 3.6, 2.46 in May. Yeah, maybe that's like a trend for them. Maybe that's something that maybe like around this time of the year they trend down. But this one's 316. That makes no sense. What about this one? 2.8. That's weird. I don't know. I don't have a read on them. I don't have a read. They're in an area where there's some consolidation, lots of price action in this area. If you're looking at technicals, we have a nice actionable signal here, nice hammer, filled the gap. Sellers brought it back down. Buyers stepped in and didn't, price came down, open, pushed down. Buyers stepped in and brought it higher. So it looks to me like it might do something like that into the week. Maybe we can get maybe we can get a play out of it this week. Maybe we can get a little play out of it above some of these, previous levels, these daily levels. Maybe we can get a play out of it. But I can't get a read on it. Let's look at coin. I cannot get a read on it. So, Coinbase. With crypto, everything with crypto now, the halving. I don't know how the halving is going to affect this. I don't know how it's going to affect this. Actually, before we do that, let's look at this. Yeah, I mean, nothing. This hasn't really done much. This is a daily chart. It put in a doji yesterday, put in a doji today. I'm thinking maybe like overnight, once like Asia opens up, this will probably start getting some movement. I just don't know. I don't know what to expect with it. Like, it feels like there should have been some big movement out of it. Coinbase has a little bit of a gap that looks like it's filled. Right, this gap here looks like it's been filled on this price action. Yeah, and then it's just like it's been consolidating in this area. Came back, consolidated, couldn't really take out the highs like that. Came back, broke down. Now at the bottom of the channel, almost like a bearish engulfing. You gotta wait to see what happens with Coinbase. They have earnings in 2 weeks. There's a potential for a run up. Actually, you know what? They'll probably run up on earnings, just for the fact that I'm sure that people have been using their service, buying crypto using Coinbase. opening up Coinbase accounts, et cetera, et cetera. It really needs to hold this area here. You see where all these buyers are at the bottom of these wicks? All these wicks full of buyers. It needs to hold this area here in order for it to show some flash of some buying pressure. 250 looks like it might work its way into 250 if buyers can step in. But I think everyone's waiting on the result for the halving, right? But if you look at it, I mean, high, come back, pull back, higher low, pull back, higher high, pull back, higher low, pull back, or sorry, rip through, higher high. This might be the higher low area. Good consolidation here. Just looking across. Yeah, real good consolidation at this level. Really good consolidation at this level. Also acted as previous support way back when. So I think that, let's see what Coinbase does. This is going to go in the direction of what Bitcoin does. This will go in the direction of Bitcoin. These are all like decoupled now. Riot looks like it's decoupled. Yeah, they just look different. They look different than the Bitcoin chart. Let's see what Ethereum looks like. They look more like Ethereum than anything else. Mara, Riot look more like Ethereum than anything else. And let's see Bitcoin. Yeah, I mean, they look like they kind of similar movements, but just more drastic on some of the other names. Coinbase looks more sustained. It looks more like slower, more chill, less volatile. It looks more like Bitcoin. So I would just see what Bitcoin does. If you see some Bitcoin news in the morning, I would just look at Coinbase and see if you're interested in taking some Coinbase as a result of Bitcoin movements. Let's look at ES futures real quick. Actually, before that, let's look at Apple. They don't report until the following week. Apple put in a new 52-week low. Broke down all my I had a little bit of a demand on here. Broke down hit the demand, but then ripped right down through it off that double top. Apple showing major weakness. So if you're interested in owning Apple shares, now these are all very good prices in my opinion. It's still in that falling wedge on a daily and a weekly. It looks like it wants to go a little bit bit lower, maybe down to 150 before it works its way back up. Apple actually looks a lot like Tesla, except Apple's a very good company. Just put it like that. And let's look at ES real quick. Let's look at ES on the daily. Yeah. So, yeah, I just think we continue to slide. I mean, there's like a potential for a little bit of a bounce spot here. Look at how many buyers are in this area. We double tapped on it the last time. Boom, boom, and then work our way up. We might double tap on it again and work our way back up. We might come back down to retest. There's an area here I'm looking at. Right there, kind of like right here. Resistance and support. So we have a little bit of area there. Right, we might have a little bit of a level there. Let's see. There. I just think we go lower. The market's been showing lots of strength all year long. Ever since we hit this dip down here, pretty much the end of October. Even before that, I mean, I remember like it being around here and being like, oh wow, this feels really bullish. We have been making higher lows and higher highs during this time. We came back and kind of pulled back, and ever since we pulled back and retested that area as resistance, this was the previous high right here. Ever since we came back to this level, we just have been absolutely ripping. Things are not this good. This market looks great. Life is not this great. There's a lot going on. There's a lot going on. Like these companies aren't innovating that much. I think Nvidia's technology, and I think people adapting, and I think like AI, how prevalent it's been. I'm sure that people have been making money off AI the way they're supposed to, and all this stuff. But like, I think that we just need to normalize and come back down to certain levels. Personally, not like not being a bear, like not being like a wild bear or anything like that. But like we came back, made this level, and then we tested it a couple times over here, then we ripped right past it. I think we're gonna come back to this level at the bare minimum, like come back to this level, visit it, see what's up. There's another level down here that we like to trade at a lot, like consolidation here, resistance, consolidation, resistance, support. Like that's another level that we might have to test in the near future, 44 on ES. So I don't know. I just think that we go down even more. The wild card is earnings. Who's going to be the company in earnings that's going to say send it to 6,000? I don't know if that's going to happen yet for us. We're like in the middle of a war in the world, right? Like Iran's about to enter the chat if they haven't already. I haven't been up on the news this weekend. Jobs, right? Unemployment, housing, interest rates, price of food, right? Inflation, no rate cuts. Like you're not telling me nothing good. This is, there's nothing that you're telling me right now that makes me feel good. So why does this market? Why is there so much green on my screen right now, right? So let's capitalize. We're smart. We trade what's in front of us. Let's take these puts when they're there. Let's take the calls when they're there. Let's keep ourselves honest. Let's keep making this money. Start buying your bug out bags and all that stuff. All right, I'm gonna end it on that note. Thank you guys for being with me tonight, listening to me rant for an hour and 20 minutes. Appreciate you. I will be on the call on the in the server early in the morning, and then later on in the afternoon because I have an appointment. But again, SPX, SPY, QQQ all week long. I had really good success, and I'll share this with you now. I had really, really good success with SPX and SPY this week. The world's it's crazy right now. It's like real crazy. But I've had really, really good success allowing SPY to set its range early. Okay, here, and waiting for your setup, waiting for it to, is it above VWAP? Is price above VWAP? Is it above the previous pivots? Is it showing higher highs and higher lows? Is it like if not all things are intact, don't take the trade. Don't take the trade, right? It's very, very, very tempting when things are ripping, but usually they rip and then we jump in and they fall really hard. So I'm going to give you guys a little bit more play-by-plays this week on SPY, SPX, QQQ this week, so you can kind of, I'm just going to share what I'm looking at and what I'm seeing, and hopefully you guys can pick up on it. But anyway, that's it, guys. Thank you so much for being on the call with me. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a great night.